You can legally copy, sell, or remix pristine cinematic classics like Charade or Night of the Living Dead without paying the studios a single cent. That's because these movies belong to the public domain. It's a specific legal designation for creative works that no longer have copyright protection, meaning they exist as a cultural commons owned by everyone. That open access is a stark contrast to modern Hollywood. Today, studios aggressively guard their intellectual property, locking down characters behind massive legal walls. So how did the early, ruthlessly capitalist Hollywood machine manage to completely lose control over some of its most valuable masterpieces? The studios certainly did not hand them over out of charity. They lost them because of the harsh, unforgiving rules of early 20th century copyright law and how it punished corporate negligence. To understand how a movie dies a legal death, we have to look at the rigid rules that existed before 1989. Back then, any published work had to contain a specific, legally perfect copyright notice, like the little C in a circle, to maintain its protection. When the distributor for Night of the Living Dead changed the movie's title just before release, they forgot the copyright symbol on the new title card. That single omission instantly destroyed the film's legal protection the moment it hit the theaters. The second major cause of the copyright death was an administrative hurdle created by the 1909 Copyright Act, often called the Renewal Trapdoor. This timeline illustrates how the act worked. A film was only granted a 28-year initial term of protection. To secure a second 28-year term, studios had to actively file renewal paperwork with the government. In those early decades, studios viewed their films as disposable entertainment. Once a theatrical run ended, executives saw zero long-term commercial value in keeping the rights active. His Girl Friday was a massive commercial hit featuring top-tier stars, but it fell into the public domain for one simple reason: the studio forgot to file the renewal paperwork in its 28th year. Early copyright law functioned as a strict compliance test. A single missed deadline or typographic error meant total forfeiture of a film. But finding a public domain movie does not actually mean you are legally free and clear to use it. This bundle of rights means a film is a collection of distinct copyrights for the script, audio, and video. For His Girl Friday, the video is the public domain, but the underlying play is protected. Similarly, Charade is free, but its iconic score remains fiercely locked. Utilizing public domain films requires navigating a legal minefield. The death of the main film copyright rarely kills the underlying assets attached to it. The era of films accidentally sliding into the public domain is permanently over. The 1976 Copyright Act and the 1998 extensions changed the new rules entirely. Copyright is now automatic, and the term limits have been stretched to 95 years. Today, films only enter the public domain when that massive time limit simply runs out. It's the only reason that pre-1931 films are finally crossing the threshold year by year. These extremely long, modern copyright terms pose a physical danger to the history of cinema. Thousands of older films literally decay in storage cans because studios lack the financial incentive to restore them, yet they legally block anyone else from doing the work. By contrast, the public domain offers a massive cultural gift. It empowers archivists to restore reels, allows educators to share them freely, and invites filmmakers to remix the classics. While the studios view these early copyright losses as tragic financial blunders, they inadvertently guaranteed that early cinema belongs to our shared permanent cultural heritage.